45.
Looks like Tom Duncan.
Sounds like, must be a duck.
Jersey girls are the best.
Yeah.
What?
The bunny ears are back. Welcome back to another edition of Laugh Underneath the Podcast. And we have a really cool guest with us today, guys. He's a CEO, founder. He's a founder, right? Pioneer, leveraging technology to make mortgage hiring even better than it is today. The one, the only Dale Larson III.
That's right. Bobby, thank you so much for having me on the show today.
Appreciate it, man. Listen, I've enjoyed our conversations that are not recorded. So, it's always fun when you get to actually record a conversation, right? with somebody that you enjoy talking with.
Yeah.
And so it's always fun for us. By the way, this music was handpicked for you through ChatGPT based on your personality. It said you would like this kind of music.
Huh, interesting.
What do you think? Is that up your alley?
I would do this music. Yeah.
So ChatGPT picked, that was pretty interesting.
Huh.
So we're trying out this new stuff, man. It's really cool. You know what I mean? I can't get enough of it, quite honestly.
I think it's the future. I think the future looks a little daunting and scary, but I'm here for it. I think it's great.
Yeah. So Dale, let's start from ground zero, right?
Sure.
How's the weather in Oregon?
Oh, it's just dreary and gray and not fun. But we're starting to see some glimmers of hope here. It's funny. We live through so much gray and dreariness that when the sun is around, it's just like heavenly.
You're in Seattle. I'm sorry, you're in Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle. It's probably similar
Yeah.
weather.
Yeah.
Pacific Northwest is usually the same. So yeah, it's dreary today, but we've had a couple days of sunshine, which have been, I call it good for my soul. So yeah.
Now, are you a big coffee drinker?
I'm not a big coffee drinker, but it's funny. I actually I had my coffee today, but usually I'm not. I'm not your traditional Seattleite. No.
That's interesting. Yeah, because you always associate rain, cloudiness, depression, and coffee with Seattle.
Yes, seasonal effectiveness disorder is a big thing up here. Yes.
Yeah, man. You guys have been having a pretty booming population growth over there, right? I think there's been something about that.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit north of Seattle in Snohomish County. But yeah, we're supposed to see, 100,000 new people move to our area in the next 5 to 10 years. So it's growing for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive into this, Dale. I mean, am I correct to say this, that you are the founder of Modex?
I'm co-founder. So yes, I co-founded it with my dad. So Dale Jr., I'm Dale the third. Yeah.
Got it. How does it feel like to be the third?
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. This is a funny thing I mention to people sometimes. I sometimes worry that being a third could sound almost pretentious.
Yeah. A little bit.
But yeah, I know, right? But so sometimes I don't mention it, but I do mention it in my business because my dad he's chairman of the board and co-founders together. So I usually call myself Dale 3, or even I sign my emails Dale 3. But
you could you could just be D3.
You know what? There's a lot of people. There are people that call me D3. Yeah,
or DL3.
Someone called me Trey a few days ago. I'm not a huge fan of that, but D3 I've heard quite a bit.
How about D-Tray?
D-Tray, that could work.
See, he's got a little bit of rhythm in there. You know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking. But hey, this is me.
Yeah.
All right, we digress. So you are the co-founder of Modex, which, by the way, I mean, my experience with Modex has been really phenomenal. Love it, by the way, just FYI. Not that much experience in it, but the times that I have gone in it, I think my first introduction to you guys was several years ago when one of my managers called me up and said, dude, you got to see this thing called Modex. He goes, you just go in and it tells you all your data. And I think you guys were inviting loan officers at that time to claim their data on Modex, something like that.
That's right. Yeah, we have a whole, we're not going to unpack the whole product today because that's not what we're here for.
No.
But, one of the two products that we provide, is one called Profiles, which, we encourage loan officers to claim profiles. There's no cost to them. And we can show them a lot about the industry and themselves and the like.
Did you guys come up with that idea yourself? Because it was definitely new at that time. No one had really done that. Hey, claim your profile. I hadn't seen anyone do that. And then it kind of spit out all the different, volumes and product mix and all that other stuff.
Yeah, we feel like we're a first mover on that. There's a lot of folks out there providing data in the marketplace, but generally that data is made available to corporations and employers and recruiters and stuff like that, right? Generally, the data has not been made available to loan officers, at least some of the data that we're providing. So yeah, we feel like generally, yeah, we're a first mover in terms of like, hey, let's provide some of this data to loan officers so they can make more informed employment decisions or market decisions and stuff like that. Yeah.
So let's talk about this. I mean, when loan officers are looking around for mortgage companies, right? And by the way, I'm a hiring manager, right? So just all fairness, right? They'll do like a Google search, you know what I mean, of the mortgage company. They'll do a Google search on me, right? Maybe they'll look on LinkedIn. They'll ask some friends, hey, you know Fabi, do you know Homecomings, blah, blah, blah. If they get positive feedback, then they feel better about it. But they're not basing it off data. Right? This is more of a echo sounds or sounds that people are making in the industry about me or the company. So you're providing data to loan officers so they could make more data-driven decisions.
Yeah, that's the end goal. I don't think it's controversial what I say, but a lot of folks in the mortgage industry are salespeople, right? An employer or a hiring manager like yourself, you're trying to sell your company to a loan officer to come work for you, right? And the other way around too. It's like, hey, if I'm a loan officer, I'm going to sell myself to you saying like, hey, I'm the best. This is why. So now what happened was data became available, public record data. And so employers knew when a loan officer was just making stuff up. It's like, hey, you're not really doing $2 million a month. You're doing $1 million a month. You had a great $2 million month in the last 18 months. Quit using that number. So that's now employers know what a loan officer is doing. Now, if we were to flip the script, and of course, employers are always trying to present the best version of themselves. Hey, we're growing. We have this marketing. Look at all this cool stuff we're doing. We're in the news. But what about, again, like I said, if I flip the script and I told a loan officer, hey, this company really isn't growing, or they're stagnant, or here's their retention rates. That's what we're trying to start to go towards, where the data is made available to loan officers. So it can be a really tricky thing because it's going to cut through a lot of the BS.
Sure.
Where really good mortgage companies that are growing and are seeing success, they will be noticed. And if you're a company that's putting on this facade of like, hey, we're growing and we have all this great stuff going on, and we have this great retention, Modex is just going to kind of clear the clouds and show loan officers, hey, here's the reality based on data. Now, going back really quickly, what you were talking about a minute ago, the social truth referral stuff is important. Like looking you up on LinkedIn or looking at reviews and looking at this. I mean, I think in today's world, a lot of people make decisions on that.
Sure.
Right. I go to, like, if I'm going to go to a restaurant, I look at Yelp, I see the reviews. Admittedly, I'm not
off of Yelp.
Right. But I'm not going to the health department and seeing like, well, what is this restaurant rated? I'll probably start at the Yelp reviews first. So there is the social referral aspect still holds a lot of weight, and I think rightfully so.
Interesting.
And it does in mortgage. But I think providing people, the loan officers, the data of like, hey, here's also the situation from here's the hardline truth on growth or lack of retention, stuff like that. I think could be disruptive in a good way.
I mean, look, so let's peel back this onion a little further. You know what I mean? Because this is such an interesting topic. How many loan officers? And maybe, look, guys who are listening to the show, you know what I mean? Feel free to text us. You know what I mean? You guys do always, a lot of criticism texts come through on my email. But this would be a nice little survey. How many of you guys would be interested, right, in getting the data to make a decision before you make your next move, right? I mean, that's a really, like, percentage-wise, right? Like, would they be the top producers, the guys who are doing 50, 60, 80 million dollars? Or would they be the guy that's doing $5 to $9 million? Would the guy who does $5 to $9 million, would they care, right? Because look, let's throw all caution to the wind. I'm going to make a statement here right now. One of the things that's I've always seen, not always, have been very mindful of, is low producing loan officers seek to find companies that are paying high commissions, and high commission companies tend to go in and out of the market. So if they looked at the data of someone paying them 200 basis points, it may not be that appealing, but they could say, yeah, but I'll just get another job, Dale.
Right.
They got a business, I'll just go find another company, right? Whereas the guy that's doing 50, 60, 70 million dollars with relationships with builders and stuff like that, they're going to try to protect the reputation of look, and I'm assuming all this. If I'm incorrect, guys, chime in and tell me, Fab, you're an asshole. You're absolutely wrong. You know what I mean? I do 9 million a year and I got to maintain my relationship. So I stand to be corrected. I'm not the keeper of the truth. But Dale, I mean, where do you think that, is there a line like that between loan officers' personalities of who would seek that data?
Oh, absolutely. It's really interesting. When we first started this business, we started our business, there's a bunch of dates when you could say we founded it, but let's just call it 2019. Let's call it fall 2019.
Okay.
We kind of came into this thinking there's loan officers. There's like loan officers are loan officers, but what we've recognized and unpacked is like there's different personas to loan officers, right? You have the this is my side job. You have the hustlers. You have bank loan officers. You have call centers. You have I know loan officers that are cocky and they would love their employer to know they're looking for jobs. I also know probably more loan officers that don't want their employer to know when they're looking for jobs. So I can't just bucket loan officers, and you've already said this. I can't, and I'm just reiterating and rehashing and agreeing with what you've said. You can't bucket loan officers into like loan officers are loan officers.
Yeah.
There's a every day I almost find not every day, I don't know, every quarter I kind of unpack like, hey, there's another type out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for certain loan officers, this data would probably be more relevant. But I think across the industry, all loan officers are probably interested in some sort of data on what's going on in their market. Either what's going on in their market with a potential new employer or what's going on in the market with their existing employer. It's like, hey, I'm a big producer. I feel like I'm doing a lot of product. I'm a 50, 80, $100 million a year producer. Yeah. But what's the health of my employer? Really? Wow. Are they growing or not? So it's our platform is for employment, but we're also recognizing we need to serve loan officers who are not looking for jobs.
So Modex now is obviously you guys would charge a fee, right, to give the information for the employer. So it's almost like pulling a credit report.
Yeah, sure.
Right, on an employer to find out, is this where I'm going to stay, or is this a good place to stay, or is this a good place to jump to? So those are like almost like you're doing credit pulls on those, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to understand how healthy is an employer.
That's so interesting. I mean, because when you really look at it, I mean, I know when I was a full-time LO, I mean, I would definitely crave that information. In fact, just this morning, I remember I was talking to somebody, and I can't remember the entire conversation because it was like an hour and a half. It was a great conversation. Mm-hmm. He was like, I just want to make sure that the next decision I make is the right decision.
Right, exactly.
And I want to let them know that you're not going to know until you make the decision, but having data could definitely minimize the risk.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to say that? Minimize the risk?
I think you're just trying to reduce your risk. I mean, you might as well know as much as you can. Here's the funny thing. I think my dad gave me some good advice once. He said, you're not going to have all the answers before you make a decision. If you're going to wait to have all the answers, you're never going to make a decision.
Yeah.
And he gave me that advice in the context of relationships, right? So I'm married now, all this great stuff. But he gave me that in the context of getting married.
I'll tell you off air what my dad told me about getting married.
There we go. Okay. I'd love to hear it. But I think you should, I mean, if you can get answers to de-risk stuff, you should. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So there's two other really interesting metrics that I think we're actually not generating these today, but we will be generating these because we know we can. Mm-hmm. One would be, hey, when new loan officers move to a certain employer, how does their production change? It's like, hey, I'm going to make up some names here. I'm at ABC Mortgage. I'm doing $1 million a month. If I move to Acme Mortgage, the average loan officer that moves to Acme Mortgage within 6 months is doing 50% more production.
Wow.
So if I could show loan officers, hey, certain companies, when you move to them, their loan officers do better.
Okay.
We think that'd be good.
Real quick.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but this is like stuff that me as a hiring manager, I'd want your Modex report to show to new recruits.
Right.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I want to show them, here's what happens at, Homecoming's Mortgage. Someone joins and boom, they're obviously, if it goes the other way and they don't do as well or they stay flat, I mean, I want to share that report with them.
Yeah. So that's what I was mentioning earlier. Like Modex can be kind of controversial. It can be a little painful. But what we've decided is, hey, we're going to be third-party agnostic. We're just a truth teller. That's it. And we're really going to help the best mortgage companies be better. And if you're a mediocre, not great health, not great performing mortgage company, Modex could hurt you because we're not going to be able to provide you that report. I'm not going to lie in a report saying like, hey, I'm Acme Mortgage. Look at all this production I'm doing or this. I'll tell it straight. So yeah, one thing is looking at, but yeah, that's it. It's so funny. I haven't thought of that. So there could be a report for employers to give potential hires showing, hey, like, look, this is the Modex metrics on us.
I would actually even pull out my report. And look, I mean, let's just talk about this for a second. Like I was just telling you before we start recording, I'm talking to a guy and I told him that the company that just bought his company or they merged has reduced their volume by 81% year over year. That's a pretty staggering fact to tell somebody that just is excited about the merger that they're part of. They're like, they're going to get all this new technology and all this new, and also you kind of come in, part of my thing in recruiting, I've always said is that my job is almost to make somebody's day feel like it's not such a good day today. That's what I know I've won in it. That's the unfortunate part of recruiting, right? Yeah. But it's also to share the facts. It's like you're saying, you're almost like agnostic because it's like, dude, even if you don't come to me, this is what you got to know about who just bought your company. Right. They're down to 19% of their volume from a year ago. How much longer could they survive? Yeah. And so that kind of information is powerful, man. It's what we do with information, right? Ultimately, like you're saying, it's a data-driven decision-making process. What we do with the data and how we share it, I mean, it can be two-sided, three-sided, I don't know. But it all depends on what we do with it.
It's multidimensional. I know it's kind of probably a flashy buzzword, and I can't believe that just came out of my mouth. But it's what it is. It is. There's so many applications to it. And the second metric, just really quickly, was so there's different comp models, but a lot of loan officers are very commission driven. And so yeah, I would love to show loan officers like, hey, when you move to a new company, here's how fast your production ramps back up. Because there is a trend where you leave a company, you roll your pipeline down. You start a new company, you have some time to get used to their systems, and then you ramp your production back up. Yeah. I would love to show loan officers, hey, at ABC Mortgage, it's a 3-month ramp up back to your average production versus at Acme Mortgage, it's an 8-month ramp back up. So if you're commission driven, you can kind of see like, hey, when I switch to this company, I should expect my normal production volumes back in 3 months versus 8 months. And that might help. That might impact a loan officer's decision of where they're going to go work.
Well, not only that, but I mean, as hiring managers, we can also then decide, okay, how much of a ramp up do we give them?
Yeah.
Right? Exactly. Because if my operation is taking 90 days, I need to make a bridge for them so they don't lose financial because of their decision to join me. Versus if we're taking 8 months, I need to go talk to my operations and say, guys, I'm not going to hire this till you get this down to 90 days or 60 days because I'm not going to embarrass myself anymore.
Yeah. So an internal metric even for the hiring manager or the employer. Yeah.
Yeah. There's multiple ways to do this. So, man, that is some powerful shit, man. God damn. I'm excited now. I want to go out and recruit some more, Dale.
There you go. Yeah. That's what we're trying to help you with.
So listen, one last thing. One metric that you got to put in there for me, and you can call it the Fabi metric.
Okay. Yep.
How many lawsuits has a company been part of? Can you tell me that?
We have regulatory and disciplinary data. We don't surface it today in the platform, and I don't have that as like a metric to provide you today. But
one of my big thing right now, Dale, is I'm on the campaign of companies suing other companies.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Every day. For
no reason. You know what I mean? I'm just so this is probably the third episode I'm talking about it. That's how pissed off I am about it. Mm-hmm. It's like I just feel like it's gone out of control. And why does somebody want to join a company that's litigious? Because the minute you leave, they're going to sue you. And it's like, why would I want that kind of company? Why get involved with a company like that to begin with?
We have a lot of you're getting my wheels are spinning in my own head here on this. There is a path to what you're looking to achieve. A lot of the regulatory and disciplinary data that we have is really mortgage related. So, mortgage fraud, all that fun stuff.
it can't be fun up until they get caught, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I just got out of jail. We can talk to him on the next episode.
There. But thinking about the data that I have today and how we join in new data sets and new data sets that we have coming down the pipeline, yeah, there is a path to that. I couldn't tell you that today, but there is a way where I could join companies back to litigation data to say like, yeah, this company's been involved in this many types of.
I think for
litigation.
loan officers, they need to know this because look, you sign a 2-year contract with a clawback or whatever.
Yeah.
And they can't close your loans on time and you need to leave. What's going to be the I mean, once again, we're minimizing our exposure. So what's the possible outcome of my exit?
Right.
And if I know that before I sign the contract, that's going to make a powerful impact on me at least. So for what it's worth, man. Yeah. Look, I didn't think we were going to be on this topic for like 15, 20 minutes, but wow, hell of a topic, brother. Let's go into this and keep on this kind of same thing. Now, let's flip the script. I'm the hiring manager, right?
Yep.
I've been using data for years, Dale. I don't know, 2019, 2008. I honestly, no. So PAC Union, Pacific Union, when I was there, and I've said this before, Evan Stone, if you're listening, I love you, brother. Serious business. That was a hell of a company that you guys created. But they actually created an internal program in 2015 that we could literally go see loan officers' data. And so in 2015, I began to really use data as a means of recruiting.
Yep.
Is there an overkill on hiring managers relying on data provided by companies like Modex and other vendors like that, where we rely so heavily on it that we are kind of forgetting some of the human elements of a salesperson?
Yeah, I do. I think that, I mean, I'm going to answer this two ways. I think data should be used more to make more informed decisions on who you're hiring and understanding them. But I still think you need, and maybe I'm answering your question, or maybe I'm kind of dancing around it. You got to correct me. Yeah. I think the human component is good. We have clients who use our data to mass contact loan officers. I call it the shotgun approach, and I think it can work. But I think where I see more clients having success is leveraging our data to have concerted conversations, build relationships. And then that's where, in my experience so far, clients are seeing more success. So it's, you can use the data, but you have to use it to understand who you're talking to and then build a relationship. I still think a lot of recruiting is relationship based and relationship building. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think what most recruiters fail to understand is that the days of dialing for dollars, they're long gone. I mean, I hope they are. I mean, I don't know, but I feel like they are. You know what I mean? But like, you have to create a sphere of people in your universe, and then at the right time, they think of you as an opportunity that they want to explore.
Yeah.
But if I do that, so here's what happens, Dale.
Sure.
I'm talking to somebody, they're giving me their numbers. And mostly I deal with groups, right? So I'm not really dealing with individual LOs. I do on occasion, but mostly it's like, anywhere from, we have a group right now, 22 people, right?
Yeah.
And so I have to go through all their numbers, but it doesn't match what we're getting on our reports.
Right.
And so then they say, well, your reports are wrong. And then we say, okay, now give me your funding reports and blah, blah, blah. I mean, so we go back to but I mean, how precise is the data that we're getting out here?
That's a good question. That's a difficult question to answer, and I'll do my best to answer it. Most of the data that we collect and other providers like Modex collect is coming from public record data. And so we're at the mercy of municipalities, right? Public entities. So bigger counties, it generally comes from county public record data. So bigger counties like Los Angeles County or King County, where Seattle is located, well-funded, very technologically savvy. They digitize documents and they make it available quickly and easily. Okay, so in those sorts of markets or metro areas, data is available quickly and accurately. When you start to get into the South, when you start to get into the Midwest or the Northeast, a lot of stuff is still a little antiquated. So still done to paper, they're maybe not as funded as well. And so that's where you can have way more data lag, and you can have more accuracy issues. So I can't conclusively say the accuracy of the data. It's hard to do that. I would say certain markets are more accurate than others. Yeah. But the data is directionally accurate. It's going to help you understand whether you're talking to a peanut loan officer versus whether you're talking to like a mega producer, and give you some directional accuracy there.
So even in this morning's call this morning, we're taking the individuals, all their closings for 2023, and put them on a spreadsheet and showed them what the difference would have been in our company and that kind of stuff, right?
Sure.
And they said to me, they go, "Man, you're only off by a couple of 100,000. That's pretty impressive." He goes, "You won't believe how many recruiters called me up and have a totally like a incorrect number, and I'll just listen to them politely, just laughing inside like you don't even know who I am."
Right.
And so it is interesting, you know what I mean, like how the information we get kind of creates the culture of the company you're already talking with. And if it doesn't align, then you're kind of like in trouble. So once again, I mean, I don't want to rely too much on the data, right? Because I want to rely a little bit on me and my reputation.
Sure.
But at the same time, I'm counting on data to be as accurate as possible. So how does a hiring manager verify data? Do we just ask the recruit, say, "Hey, this is what Modex is showing me. What do you think? Is this right, wrong? How close am I?"
Here's the truth. I would tell someone, I'd say, yeah, put the vulnerability on me. I mean, I think it's now kind of known that this data. I don't know how often loan officers come across a recruiter and they're all shocked that the recruiter knows their production. I think most loan officers now know, like, hey, this data's out there. I can't hide it anymore. It is what it is. So I think it's fine for recruiters to lead with, "Hey, I'm seeing your production numbers out of Modex or out of this other solution as this." And so if the numbers are incorrect, it's not your fault. You can say, "Well, Modex screwed it up. That's their fault." And we feel like at our business, our data is accurate enough where we're fine taking on that risk of you guys pointing at us and saying, "Well, Modex was wrong. Sorry," because we aren't wrong all that often.
All right. Let instead of hiring, let's focus on retention.
Sure.
How can Modex help me retain my loan officers?
That's a good question. We have a beta product coming out. It's not available to any clients yet, but it's available in my account. It's called Workforce. So with Workforce, it helps us identify. We also call it arrivals and departures. So where loan officers are going and where they're coming from, where they came from, all kinds of stuff. And so I think with that kind of information, you'd be able to, I mean, if you're a large enough mortgage company, you'd be able to identify problem areas. So you could be like, "Man, I'm losing a ton of loan officers out of the Southeast or in this specific market. So maybe I should focus on why I'm losing lots of loan officers out of that area. Is it bad area managers? Is it bad branch management?" But using some of this workforce or arrivals and departure data, we can understand from a entire company perspective, but also from a geography perspective. Hey, like, what is going on in my business and where am I hurting? And then you have to dig into why. I can't tell you today. I would love to someday, but I can't give you the context of why you're losing loan officers in Miami, Florida. But I can help you understand that you're losing loan officers in Miami, Florida, when you may not have the visibility because you're a large enough business to know that.
Let me ask you a question. So this exit data that you now have, right? This is all because of the NMLS number.
A lot of it's tracked via the NMLS data.
So if I have my NMLS number, which by the way is 202352, 6 digits. Right? It's not the 5 digits, but it's 6 digits. So if I have that number attached to XYZ company and I move to Acme, right? So that's how you're kind of tracking where I'm going.
We track through licensing data, yes.
Right. And so now if you see, if I see, like, I guess you're going to, with Modex, you'll show me percentages, I guess. If XYZ or ABC is losing more to Acme versus XYZ mortgage company, right? As a manager at my company, then we have to kind of figure out what Acme's doing. Why are they able to attract my loan officers over to them? Is that kind of what we do with that information? Once again, we're using data. Having data is cool, but using data is better.
Well, that's the thing. It's like there's always a lot of data out there, but you got to do something with it. And that's also been the evolution. I mean, we could talk about the evolution of our platform or just the evolution of mortgage data if you'd like. But you got to do something with it. It's like if I give you a book and you never read it, then what's the point of the book? It's just going to sit there and collect dust. You got to read it and do something with it. And then not only read it, but then take action on what you've read and learned.
Yeah.
So the same thing is applied here to data. But yeah, to your point, yeah, I would, if I'm losing lots of loan officers and I'm ABC Mortgage and I'm losing lots of loan officers to Acme Mortgage, I would ask, why am I losing? What is Acme doing so well that's attracting my loan officers? Or is there something going on where they're poaching my employees? Like something suspect is happening.
Okay. Yeah, which goes back to the legal stuff. So we get
Yes.
So always goes back to lawyers earning money hourly.
I was going to say, they're usually the winners at the end of all this stuff.
Always, they never lose, man. They never lose. They never lose. So it's interesting, man, because I do believe that there is, what's the right way to say it? There are companies that are able to retain loan officers at such a high level that it's almost like you want to pull your hair out and say, what are you guys doing? Once again, we're selling 30-year fixed rates. We're selling whatever, whatever the products is whatever, right? But maybe there's a couple here, a couple there differences, but it shouldn't be like a drastic difference. But the data leads me to find out that you're retaining. So rather than reinvent the wheel, it would just be easier just to kind of find out what they're doing inside and see what of those things we could adapt.
Oh, I think absolutely.
Right.
That makes a ton of sense. Yeah.
Interesting. What are you seeing on the horizon now? I mean, let's talk about, we have a few more minutes left here. Yeah, about 4 more. All right. So future trends. Okay. Probably didn't give you enough time to talk about future trends. We really beat the first topic to the ground.
No, yeah, I know. I get really excited about it. So
no, you don't understand. I'm a geek wonk when it comes to data. You know what I mean? Like I literally can go through reams and reams of data and actually chart out stuff. I love data. So, but future trends in your industry, your slice of the pie deal, right? So you guys are in the business of giving me data on loan officers and mortgage lenders. So there are a handful of your types in the business. By the way, what does Modex mean? Do you have is that just a name or does it mean something?
It means something. And as young as I am, it's kind of shocking that I came up with this. It stands for Mortgage Rolodex. Which I've never owned a Rolodex. I'll never own a Rolodex, but that's where it comes from, is Mortgage Dex, Rolodex. Yep.
Interesting. All right. We got that out of you. All right. I love that. So it's not some kind of a stock exchange where loan officers are traded up and down.
No, we think of ourselves that way sometimes with profiles and it being a marketplace, but it's Mortgage Rolodex.
Love it. All right, so future trends in your arena, brother. I mean, we know we're as good as we can in the mortgage industry side, but on your side of the fence, what are you seeing as far as how technology, analytics, AI? I mean, got to throw AI in there, right? How's that going to affect everything?
I was going to say that's going to be a big topic. I think AI, machine learning and predictive analytics has always been a big topic. It's just been more of a focused topic recently with OpenAI and ChatGPT and just GPT and LLM models in general. I think a lot of development is going to happen around that, and leveraging AI or machine learning to predictively understand markets. I think that's going to be a big deal. In fact, so far as we think that we have enough data where we can start to predict, it sounds like scary dystopian sort of stuff, but we think we can predict when a loan officer is going to switch a job.
That's what I was getting. So you beat me to it, man.
Yep. So we call it propensity to move.
Yeah.
And so we can create a confidence score of like, hey, we're XYZ confident that this loan officer is going to switch jobs in the next 6 months.
Help me out here, Dale, because this is worth another 40 minutes of my life if I have to.
Sure.
Not that you have 40 more minutes, but I would definitely commit. What would be the top 3 indicators that you would put in there that, hey, these are 3 flags that this loan officer just tripped, that says this guy is on a scale of 1 to 10, a 7.5 to 8, that they're about to leave?
That's a good question. I would probably look at prior employment history. And it depends. Again, like we said, there are different personas to loan officers. So I would say, and so these key indicators don't apply to every loan officer, but there are certain loan officers that, hey, every 3 years they're switching jobs. It's like clockwork. So I would probably look at employment change patterns, I think is one good thing to look at. I would look at, secondly, their production. So it's actually interesting. You'd think that their production would ramp down when they're going to look for a job. We may be too late to Chase already, but sometimes their production ramps up because they're trying to close out all of their pipeline before they leave.
Ooh.
So you'd expect for that, it's like, oh, it's going down, they're going to switch jobs. No, it's usually down, followed by a wrap it up, and then they change jobs. So that, and then I'd also probably look at the employer, where they work. Did they lose a branch manager recently? Are lots of their peers leaving their branch? Is the performance of the branch declining? So I mean, if you talk about 3 indicators, there's a ton of indicators we can use, but looking at those 3, we start to understand. We can't guarantee it, but we start to build certain confidences around like, hey, is this loan officer going to likely switch a job or not?
So here's my indicator. I'm going to share with the audience, and I'll share with you.
I'd love to hear it.
When I start seeing people view my profile on LinkedIn, because we have that premium thing, so I can see who's been viewing me.
Yeah.
And if someone looks at me like 2 or 3 times over a period of 30 days, one of my recruiters is calling that person. Just because it's like, okay, what's going on? Why you keep looking at it? What's going? I mean,
yep.
And I'll tell one of my guys, I say, hey, we need to call this guy because something's up. And if they don't call him, and 30 days later we see them leave, I'll say, I told you. Because we see that time and time again. You know what I mean? Like something's up. So is that I guess that's a very organic way of seeing if someone's about to leave.
Yeah. So in that case specifically, I don't disagree with that at all. In that case, like, you don't want to get like way down the road here on product, but LinkedIn doesn't make that data readily available to companies like Modex. However, we have an internal system that we've built and run for years since the inception of the business called events. And we actually have billions of events in our system. So we track whenever anyone does anything in our platform. So I know when a loan officer looks at a certain employer, how often they log in, what are they doing when they log in. So yeah, we will start to leverage, and we have so much data, like we actually don't know what to do with it right now. It's hard to process. But leveraging that, we could start to understand like, hey, this loan officer is logging into Modex more often. They're starting to look at employers more often. They're likely we're gonna add to that propensity score of like likeliness to move. You know
Sue Woodard, right?
Yeah,
it's just her birthday yesterday, as a matter of fact. Happy birthday, Sue. So, by the way, I forgot to say this. Today is February 29th. So you have the rarest, like no one gets this date for a long time to come, Dale.
4 years, right?
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Pretty freaking cool, man. Anyway, she came up with this thing when she was on the show a few years ago. We were talking about AI. And she said, Fab, it's really not the artificial intelligence. It's the artificial intuition that really gets into that predictive analysis that we're looking for. Like, wouldn't it be nice? I think she said something like, Sue, I mean, she said, wouldn't it be nice, like, you knew, like, at a certain time, this guy's going to want a pizza because he's been working so long or whatever. And that kind of artificial intuition. As human beings, we have that intuition. I mean, especially you've been married now, right?
Yeah.
So you and your spouse start to have this intuition about one another.
Yeah.
Like if you come home and you're just watching the TV, it's probably not been a good day, so I'll leave Dale alone.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. And that's intuition. And so I'm wondering, does machine learning get to that level of intuition about us as human beings? And doesn't even pertain to your industry, but what do you think, man?
That's a big question. I've had that thought.
You're a big thinking guy, Dale. So that's why I'm asking this. I've
had that thought before, and I think I'm conflicted on it. And here's why I'm kind of conflicted on it. Oh, sorry, my coffee machine's beeping at me.
It's supposed to be beep at you.
I know, right? It looks like I need more coffee in my cup. But I think machines can get really close to predicting things. I think they can, which is a little startling. I like to think that humans are erratic and chaotic, but a lot of data shows that we're very habit and habitual and pattern driven. So I think a lot of stuff can be predicted.
Yeah, one of my buddies who's a studies neurology, or whatever that is, said that 95% of our daily habits, or 95% of our daily is a repetition every single day. Like we literally repeat everything, not up to 95% of everything we do today. Yeah, I mean, when you really think about that's amazing how like we're stuck in this cycle of repetition.
Yeah. So I think it can. Again, I struggle with that because I like to think that I'm not. I think habits and routine are important, right? Like that's how I built my business. That's how you built your business. But I'd like to think that a machine couldn't predict what I'm going to do, but it probably can. Which is a really odd thought. I don't know. It's a conflicting thing in my head.
I think guys like you, unfortunately, you guys are kind of, at least as far as I can see, are kind of pushing that barrier, whether you realize it or not. But well, just the information you've shared just on this little past 35, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Because it really does, look, I'm out here just trying to recruit loan officers and retain my loan officers, right?
Right.
I don't have that capacity to always be on the technology side, but when I get a chance to talk about this, this is what I'm hearing. You tell me that, we're about to start predicting. You could predict with Modex when a loan officer could be leaving. Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful.
I think, I think also, I'm also conflicted on this. I think and this could also be a whole entire other conversation, which obviously I don't think we have time to unpack. I think there's an ethical and potentially moral component to that. I don't know if, again, predicting when loan officers are going to move, I don't really have a huge issue with that. But I think you're starting to wade into the shallow end of the pool on questionable use of predictive analytics. Like, I don't know if I want Domino's pizza to know when to drop a pizza off at my house. I don't know if I want that. I think that there's a boundary, and I don't know what that boundary is. But there can be some question with it, with human behavior and stuff.
I mean, so I know we've gone way over, dude, but this is a topic. Sorry, but no, it's me. I could cut you off any point and just go end the show, but I love this conversation. Yep. So progressive pricing that Uber does was announced yesterday that Wendy's fast food chain is going to start doing progressive pricing.
Yep, dynamic pricing.
When you really look at progressive pricing, it is nothing more than predicting the human nature that if an airplane lands at 7:45, it's very likely that come 8:05, 8:10, our ride shares are going to go up, so we can raise the price and they'll still take it.
Yeah,
it's predictive.
I remember when I was in school, and I could have sworn this was challenged in court, but I could be wrong. I swear down in South America, Coca-Cola had deployed Coke machines, vending machines that made the drinks more expensive as it got hotter outside.
Yeah.
And I swear that was challenged in court, and they found that it was anti-competitive or something. But that's then where you start. That's where you get into the ethics questions. Is that right? I understand. I'm a businessman. I love capitalism. It makes sense to me. So from a capitalistic perspective, that makes a ton of sense. I get that.
DC Metro here in Northern Virginia, we have what's called progressive tolls.
Yeah.
So if there's more congestion and you want to go on Easy Pass, you're going to pay up to $45 sometimes just to get in, and other times it might be $3.
Yeah.
Just because you're in that much of a rush, you're willing to sacrifice $45 to get from point A to point B.
Yeah, and I thought $15 in Seattle for tolls was bad. No, that's crazy.
It's progressive around here, so it just depends on how much traffic is out there. So the funny thing is, I've trained myself that when the prices are high, I actually take it because I know there's too much traffic for me to deal with. When the price is low, I'll stick it out.
Right. Yeah.
Once again, using data. It's data. To me, the price is nothing more than a data component in my brain. So, Dale, listen, this has been an amazing. I did not look. I'll be very honest with you. I did not expect this conversation to go this long, but this was a really, really cool conversation, my brother. I enjoyed this. I hope you had a good time here, man.
I did. I enjoyed it. Yeah. Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, no, man. I think this is a good one. I hope people are listening to this. They understand what they're getting into. Once again, this is Dale Larson III, the CEO, co-founder of Modex, based out of Seattle, Washington.
That's right.
Dude, keep up what you're doing. I love it. I can't wait for this. I'm excited about your journey and see what the industry is going to do.
Yeah. Bobby, thank you for having me.
All right, brother. Hang on.
45.
Looks like Tom Duncan.
Sounds like, must be a duck.
Jersey girls are the best. What?
The bunny ears are back.